Welcome to this special Halloween episode of Questions About Ancient Greece and Rome You Were Afraid to Ask in School. As usual, I'm Dr. Garrett Ryan, and today we're going to explore how magicians in Rome and Egypt went about summoning demons. To the Greeks and Romans, demons were spirits of the air who functioned as intermediaries between the gods and mankind. By late antiquity, there was a complex hierarchy of demons. The lowliest and most accessible demons were ghosts. Others, more exalted and difficult to summon, were primeval spirits. In Rome and Egypt, as we'll see, a few of these greater demons were closely linked with magic and frequently invoked in spells. The loftiest of all demons were the pagan gods themselves, whom late antique magicians identified as servants and agents of an ineffable supreme deity. All demons, however powerful, were invisible and insubstantial, sustained by the smoke of sacrifices and the breath of mortal creatures. They could assume any shape they wished: a human, a satyr, an enormous dog, even one of the gods. Unlike later Christians, the Greeks and Romans thought that some demons were good and others morally neutral. But the humbler a demon was, the likelier it was to be mischievous or wicked. Any magician who failed to take the proper precautions, such as wearing a charmed amulet, ran the risk of being possessed or killed. For all their dangers, however, demons were supremely useful. They attacked enemies, seduced lovers, foretold the future, and, if summoned with a binding spell, served as assistants in all matters magical. If you wanted a demon's services, you had to either summon one yourself or hire a magician to do it for you. Our knowledge of the process comes almost entirely from Rome and Egypt. Most books of ancient magic were destroyed in late antiquity. In Egypt, however, a few collections survived. The most important of these, discovered in tombs in the early 19th century, are known as the Greek magical papyri. Among their hundreds of incantations are a handful of spells for summoning demons. So, without further ado, 4 ways to summon a demon in Rome and Egypt. We'll start with a summoning spell for the Headless One, a greater demon frequently invoked in spells. Like most spells of its type, this one begins with a long list of descriptive titles, intended to gain the demon's attention and win its favor. The magician then announces his magical credentials and works up to the summons itself. I'll read the end of the spell in Greek, just to give you the flavor, and put the translation on screen. Ego eimi ho akephalos daimon, in tos posen ekon ton horasen, iskuros, ho ekon to pur to athanaton. Ego eimi he aletheia, ho mison adikemata genesthai in to cosmo. Ego eimi ho astrapton kai branton. Ego eimi u esten ho idros ombros epipipton epitengen, hina akue. Ego eimi u to stoma kaietai diolu. Ego eimi ho genon kai apogenon. Ego eimi he charis tu ionos, onoma moe cardia parias dos mene ophen. Exelthe kai akolutheson. Impressive though this summon sounds, the actual spellcasting process was pretty basic, requiring only that the magician read the invocation after speaking a few ritual formulas. Most demons were much more demanding. Our second example, a spell for obtaining a demon assistant, is more complex. First, the magician had to cut off 2 of his fingernails and all of his hair. Next, he had to buy a falcon. He couldn't get too attached to it, however, because he was then required to drown the falcon in honeyed milk, wrap the bird in cloth along with his hair and fingernails, and inscribe a magical diagram on papyrus. Once he had done this, he set up a little shrine for the dead falcon, made an offering to it, and uttered this spell, which begins with a whole bunch of vowels. Ahem. A-I-A, I-O-U-O, He-Ke-Moi, Agathe George, Agathos Daimon, Harpan Knufi Brintanten Sifki, Briskulmo Arazar, Bame Senker Ifini Umish Mumaf, He-Ke-Moi Hohagios Orion, and so on. This mix of Greek, Egyptian, and impressive-sounding gibberish goes on for a few paragraphs. Once the magician finished the incantation, he shuffled away backwards, avoided sex for 7 days, and then, if all went to plan, hoped for a visit from his familiar. Our third summoning spell was even more complex. At dawn, the sorcerer stood impressively atop a high roof in a clean linen robe. Then, he grabbed a live falcon with his right hand and began shaking it. At the same time, in a rather impressive display of coordination, he made an offering of frankincense with his left hand. Then he spoke an incantation. At this point, if his offering was accepted, a second falcon appeared and dropped a stone at his feet. He carved this stone into an amulet and hung it from his neck. Wearing this, he went back up to the roof at sunset, made an offering of myrrh, and spoke another incantation. Then, after what we must assume was an anxious pause, a star would fall from the heavens and come crashing down beside him. When the dust cleared, you would see that the star was the demon he had summoned. The magician was then supposed to take the demon by the hand, offer it wine, and order it to obey. Henceforth, he would have a magical helper, who could, among other useful things, cast illusions, summon lesser demons, and break the teeth of aggressive crocodiles. Our final spell was designed to summon Eros, more familiar as Cupid, the god of love, but here conceptualized as a powerful demon. First, the magician had to fashion a passable wax statue of Eros. He made a series of offerings to this statue, including 7 cakes, 7 pine cones, and 7 lamps. Next, he strangled 7 birds, including at least 1 cock, in front of the statue, so that the demon could feed on their life force. On the following day, he strangled a hatchling and burnt it as an offering. On the day after that, our presumably traumatized magician strangled yet another chick and ate it raw. As one does, he chanted a few spells at strategic points. At last, he wrote the task he wanted the demon to accomplish on papyrus and laid it before the statue. As long as the ritual had been properly conducted, the spell assures us, the demon would do his bidding. So, there you have it. 4 ways to summon a demon in Rome and Egypt. Impress your friends with your newfound knowledge of the occult, and for more fun videos about the classical world, feel free to visit toldenstone.com. As always, thanks for watching.